So, Sweet Kori, what's up? Great to see you. Can you just share kind of your home, how long you've been homeschooling, how long you've been in CC, Classroom Conversations, and how long you've been directing?
Sure. I have been homeschooling for 5 years. I have 5 children, but I've only homeschooled the 4 younger ones. My oldest is married and gone. So the range is 22 to 3. So everything in between. We've been with CC, this is going to be our 4th year, and I have been directing for 2 years.
Okay, so the question of the day for you, Kori, today is, as a challenge director, a challenge mom, what kind of connections have you seen between foundations, maybe essentials and challenge, and what have been some of those connections, and then how has that impacted you as a director?
Okay, in my class in particular, I had one student who had been in foundation since the beginning, and then I had 2 other ones that had come in at different times. So I had everybody on the gamut. As far as the foundations level, I got to think here. I remember the very first time we made a connection was when we introduced our first novel. We talked about Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. And when we were talking about the time frame, it took a couple of minutes, but then I had one hand shoot up and they were like, World War II was going on. And the next one shot up, oh, they were in England, so this is what was happening. And so I think those connections are there. But it's kind of funny when they switch the format from foundations into challenge, they don't see them, they stumble on them. They don't come into class going, I know 164 history facts and I'm going to connect them all. We'll be talking about something and then they'll all of a sudden go, oh, wait a minute, I remember we did this. Or in Latin, when we were doing a new declension, oh, wait a minute, that's that song or that chant that I did in foundations. And it's really helpful because the ones that knew it can go back and kind of demonstrate it for the ones that didn't remember that connection because they hadn't been in as long as the others. And so I kind of see that everywhere, but then it's also how they'll approach their work. They'll kind of try to break it down into chunks, memorize it slowly. It's all kind of skills they got through foundations, but they have to kind of learn how to make it work in challenge. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. For
format,
sure.
so they kind of have to work with it a little bit.
How has seeing those connections between foundations and challenge, between the programs, how has it, there we go, I can see now.
Okay.
How has that impacted your, you being a director? Has it encouraged you, knowing that, okay, man, so the stuff that because you have foundations kids too, right?
Yeah.
So
I have one starting next year, so yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
The youngest one will start at Obesitarians.
That's great.
Yeah.
How has knowing that there is a connection, because Mrs. Borton's started with actually the challenge program. She created that first and then kind of worked her way backwards. As a director, how has that impacted you as a director? Has it been encouraging, helpful? How has it impacted you?
I think it's definitely encouraging and it's helpful because I kind of know how to encourage the kids when they get frustrated or when they hit a roadblock, because I'm like, don't you, we did this. You guys have done this in foundations. Remember, you did this part. Now we're going to add on to that part. And I think it helps them to see there's more of a connection. It gives them more confidence. And I just remind them it's a process. It's not a light switch. You're not going to just all of a sudden know where everything connects and how it all works. I always kind of think of it like in foundations and maybe in essentials too, we're giving them all these great puzzle pieces and all these great tools. Well, when they start into challenge, now we're teaching them how to unpack those, put them together and use them. So it's a process and it builds on itself. And then I think as a parent, it just gives me confidence that CC really does cover everything. You add in the pieces that you want, but you really got to trust it. Because I know when we first started, I was like, this does not seem like enough work. This does not seem like this is really going to do what it's going to do. But I've seen it and it does. Now I haven't seen it in the back end. Our oldest is going into challenge 1 next year. So we're starting to really see those connections make. But yeah, I think it's just it gives them that confidence and it gives me that confidence that I know they've got it. We just got to figure out how to unpack it. They've just squirreled it away and we got to pull it out. But I think also for the parents, it gives them a lot when they come in and when their kid goes home and they were like, yeah, we were talking about Lion Witch in the Wardrobe today. And then we talked about all the parallels between the battle that Peter and Edmund are doing and their fathers fighting in World War II and, all this kind of stuff. And then they're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of connecting going on. But I think it's hard to see that at first because they're so scared by the change of going into challenge. But once they start seeing that, they start going, I can do this. I've got this.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, ma'am. I totally appreciate your time. Have a super day.
You do the same. Bye.
Thanks, man. We'll see ya.